Coming up, speed, strength, and star power. USC's top prospects are ready to turn heads at the NFL Combine tomorrow.
Women's basketball took down two ranked opponents last week, but their toughest test is ahead this weekend.
And the Lake Show was one for the books last night as Luka faced his old team for the first time. All that and more coming up on Sports Scene.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Nolan Ezett.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Chris Ajose Nixon.
Let's get right into things. 3 former USC Trojans are suiting up for the biggest job interview in football, the NFL Combine. The question is, who will shine under the spotlight? Let's find out. Cornerback Jaylin Smith is heading to the NFL Combine, proving he is ready to be a force in the secondary. In his final season as a Trojan, Smith racked up 58 total tackles and 2 interceptions. The Ballhawk is ranked 45th at his position with day 3 potential and developmental traits, according to the NFL Draft Network.
Redshirt senior Jonah Monhein played all over the offensive line during his career at USC. He's a projected day 3 pick looking to improve his stock this weekend. Monheim spent this past season playing center for the Trojans, but has experience at both tackle spots as well. The 6'5", 300-pounder brings plenty of size and versatility as a blocker, which he showed off during his one-on-one reps at the Senior Bowl.
Redshirt senior Woody Marks will participate in the Combine after putting up his best numbers yet in 2024. Marks played 4 years of SEC ball at Mississippi State, where he led all FBS running backs in receptions with 60 as a true freshman. After transferring to USC in 2024, he recorded over 1,100 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns to go along with his 47 catches for over 300 yards. Smith is currently projected to be a third-round pick, while Marks and Monheim are expected to front the day 3 selections. But the Combine is designed to highlight key talent, so key performances from the Trojans could propel them up several teams' draft boards. We know mock drafts and projections are very tentative before the Combine. So I want to ask you guys, which of those 3 players or any other players from the USC squad are you looking forward to surprise some of our faces?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about him. Woody Marks is an exceptional running back. A lot of experience at the collegiate level. We saw it at USC this year. The number 1 guy, the go-to guy for the USC Trojans all year round. Right now, he's ranked 22nd in running backs. A day 3 pick, a guy who honestly reminds me of a DeAndre Swift type of player in the NFL. If you're able to get him on day 3, that is an absolute steal. I could also see him running a good combine, having a good 40 time and moving up the ranks as well.
Yeah, I think of any of the players, I think the Combine is the biggest for him. He's a little bit undersized, and this is a super deep running back class. There's all types of guys that are going to go at the top of this draft, so he's going to have to put on a show, I think, to really prove his draft stock and get himself a little, maybe pushed up some of those big boards.
Well, I think what helps Marks the most is that his skill set is largely favored by what is tested at the Combine. He's a fast, agile guy. I think his biggest weakness is just his ability to stay on his feet when he's hit by a bigger guy. That's not really going to be tested at the Combine. I think Jaylin Smith maybe has the most to prove it, and the Combine might be tough. He's undersized for sure. Monheim, I think, could also really stand out at the Combine. He's a bigger guy, and just everything that the Combine kind of tests for, size, strength, I think that also favors him. So him and Marks, I think, are really going to be the best standout performances. Now, the Combine begins Thursday, but Smith will showcase his talent with the other DBs on Friday, Marks on Saturday, and Monheim on Sunday.
Well, we talked about USC football's past, but now let's get into the future for the Trojans. Let's send it over to Thomas to talk about USC recruiting.
Thanks, Liam. The Trojans are heating up on the recruiting trail. There's still a lot of time before National Signing Day, but USC is gearing up for its first top 5 recruiting class under Lincoln Riley. The Trojans picked up 2 verbal commitments this past week, one from Jonas Williams and the other from Samote Katoanga, to give USC the number 1 class in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. There will clearly be a lot of movement in the rankings before National Signing Day, as Kansas has not had a top 35 class this century, let alone a top 5 class. The Trojans have commitments from 4 top 100 recruits and 7 top 150 players. These 3 are some of the top commits, including a 5-star in Xavier Griffin, a near 5-star in RJ Sermons, and Jonas Williams, who might be the most important commitment of them all. Williams is the 7th-ranked quarterback in the class, but the more important part is the fact he flipped his commitment from Oregon. The Ducks have walloped the Trojans in recruiting recently, making the flip that much sweeter. Here are some of the recent recruiting losses from the Trojans in the last couple of years. Mateo Uiagalelei and Josh Connerly Jr. are both former 5-stars who were heavy USC leans before committing to Oregon. Roderick Pleasant was even a Trojan commit before flipping to the Ducks in the same way that Williams changed his commitment to USC. So guys, obviously a lot of time before National Signing Day, but do we think the Trojans can finish with a top 5 recruiting class?
I think you just mentioned the most important point. There is so much time before signing day, and in this modern version of college football, you never know what's going to happen, even with the guys who have already verbally committed. So I think it's too early really to tell whether they will finish top 5. If they do, though, it'll be because they locked in those guys from California. Thomas mentioned the guys that have flipped to Oregon in the past, a lot of them California recruits. They're going to have to go after those California guys hard and keep them in there if they want to finish with a top 5 class.
Realistically, the bulk of the hype for this Trojan squad was once Lincoln Riley came here, and we didn't have a top 5 recruiting class the last couple of years. I don't know what could make you think that the Trojans are going to have a top 5 recruiting class after what happened last season. And honestly, even if they do, I don't think it matters. I think if Lincoln Riley's shown anything, it's that he can do anything with still a good recruiting class in 2022, ranked number 6, 2023, ranked number 7. Still didn't matter. The Trojans weren't able to make it to the college football playoff, even when it expanded to 12 teams. So quite frankly, I don't think it matters.
I'll give you one reason why it might matter, and that's the new GM, Chad Bowden. He's been incredible with recruiting from a recruiting standpoint, NIL standpoint. For the past couple of years, Lincoln Riley has had the helm for everything possible for USC athletics, and now with Bowden, he's able to split up that time. Thomas, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Liam, I completely agree with you, especially on that Chad Bowden point. I mean, he was previously at Notre Dame, and he built a college football playoff roster with the Fighting Irish. I think you have the pedigree of Lincoln Riley, you have the defensive recruiting with Danton Lynn, and now you have the overall general manager of Chad Bowden. I think it's the perfect recipe for USC to bring in a top 5 recruiting class. But the Trojans are still trending with multiple high-level recruits. And again, there's still a lot of time before National Signing Day, so don't hedge your bets, but USC might just end up with a top 5 recruiting class in the country. The next step to good recruiting, he mentioned it a little bit earlier, Nolan did, but it's winning consistently on the gridiron. That's all from me. Back to y'all in the studio.
The Big Ten's best, USC and UCLA, are set for a rematch on Saturday. Let's take a look at some of the players who starred for each team in their first matchup at the Jaylin Center. First is Lauren Betts, the National Player of the Year contender. She is the Bruins' best player, and she dominates the paint at 6'7". Everything runs through her for UCLA. When Lauren Betts caught it near the basket against SC, it almost always resulted in points. She passed out of the double teams, and when she only saw one body, she went straight to work, drawing a lot of fouls. She finished 8 of 9 on free throws. Juju Watkins, another National Player of the Year contender, has been a two-way force for the Trojans, including in that game against UCLA last time out, where she filled up the stat sheet. She caught fire from downtown, especially in the first half, and then she took over defensively down the stretch, finishing with 8 blocks as USC took down their crosstown rivals. Now, junior guard Kiki Rice is the Bruins' offensive initiator. She gets their offense started with her dribble penetration and leads the team in assists. Rice uses that driving kick game to get her teammates involved, setting up London Jones for the jumper right here. And then at the end of the day, the game is about a bucket. She can score when she gets all the way to the cup, or she can pull up for 2 the old-fashioned way and score from the mid-range. And then there's Big C, Clarice Akinwafo. She plays limited minutes for the Trojans, but she provides a lot of crucial size in a matchup against a player like Betts. It was her defense on Lauren Betts on the interior that led to some of the Trojans' fast break offense that helped them put away the Bruins down the stretch in that first matchup. And head coach Lindsay Gottliebs absolutely loved her performance.
No one in our locker room is surprised at the performance that Clarice put on. My husband just sent me something that, like a post that someone said, Clarice Akinwafo will be remembered, right? Like it was in just an unbelievable, Jaylin moment. She was phenomenal, but we all just know what she's capable of and plays her role as well as anyone I've coached.
So last time out, it was Watkins and Akinwafo getting it done, especially defensively against Rice and Betts. But this time, it's a new game. What stars do you think are going to take over?
Yeah, I think what we saw in that first matchup is that either star for either team is going to get it done. Juju Watkins, Lauren Betts, not concerned with either one of those people and how they're going to play in this upcoming matchup. I'm going to the three-point shooting of UCLA, specifically London Jones. Last game against USC, she shot 25% from three-point, usually a 35% three-point shooter. You need that spark, and I think at the home court, UCLA is definitely a favorite.
I disagree. I don't think Lauren Betts got it done. Yeah, she had 20 points. She shot sub 40% from the field. On the season, she's shooting over 60%. I think the real Lauren Betts that, UCLA Bruins know and love is that player who's going to drop 25, even 30 points on 50, 60% shooting from the field against a top team like USC. I think that's what it comes down to. Of course, Juju Watkins, but also is Lauren Betts going to match her performance? Because she didn't last week.
I think with 18 points and 13 rebounds, there's not much that you can say that she had to do more. She's dishing it out to her teammates, 35% from three-point. Clearly they're not getting the job done. And also in the paint, the scheme for the Trojans was done so effectively, doubling, triple teaming every single possession. Yes, she has to pass out more. I agree with that, but I think her overall performance was impressive. 20 turnovers for the Trojans. That led to 21 points. That was ultimately the difference maker in that game.
Yeah, I think Betts is kind of the key here, that everything UCLA wants to do is run it through Betts. And you saw in the second and third quarter, she was kind of getting anything she wanted. She got to the line all the time. She was hitting her free throws. And then when she caught it deep in the paint, it was easy buckets. It was barbecue chicken, quite frankly, down there. But when in the fourth quarter, USC, especially Juju, started coming down with the perfect timing right as she made those post moves on those double teams. That's when they were able to get those stops and, force her into a little bit of an uncharacteristically inefficient ball game. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how they guard her. I also think it's interesting to see how UCLA is going to guard Juju Watkins. They left her in a lot of single coverage, and that did not work first time around. So it's going to be a chess match either way between Lindsay Gottlieb and Corey Close, trying to put their stars in position to succeed.
While Chris prefaced the big matchup on Saturday, we bring in Casey Kasliner for a deeper dive into the X's and O's.
Thanks, Liam. The second ever Big Ten edition of USC versus UCLA women's basketball is upon us. So what better place to talk about it than Big Ten Breakdown? Let's first take a look at the USC offense. So USC running their offensive scheme, Caitlin Heckle running the point, you got Rhea Marshall in the middle, and notice Juju Watkins, Bruins are in that strong side D, so Watkins could build a castle with that much space in the left corner, and keep an eye on her as well. So Marshall takes the ball, she's going to go to her left, and Watkins was thriving from downtown this game, wants the three, but that's a good closeout from Kendall Dudley, but she'll take that too any day. Juju Watkins, such a good player on the fly, an easy fadeaway jumper for her. Now the next sequence, on the defensive end for USC, Betts in the middle. It looks like it's going to be a one-on-one matchup with Rhea Marshall. Keep your eye on the shot clock winding down, and Juju Watkins is going to come for that help defense and get a piece of that layup, forcing a 24-second call and keeping USC in this game. So plenty of good action on both sides for the Trojans. Now let's go into the Bruins. So, of course, you see here the Bruins are operating through Lauren Betts, and she loves a play like that, fronting Kiki Iriafen. Poor defense from Kiki. You expect more out of her, but the height discrepancy is huge. Another play for Betts on the left block, and 4 Trojans are in the area. She's eventually, as you're going to see here, get triple teamed by the USC defense, but that's great vision from a 6'7" player, so much height, finding Kendall Dudley for the easy 2 in a Bruin bucket. So, like the first matchup, Saturday's game is probably going to be a nail-biter. USC thrived from deep range last game, shooting 44%, while UCLA shot just 15%, so keep an eye on the tray ball. The Crosstown Showdown brings out the best in players, fans, and students, so there's plenty of excitement to go around. That'll wrap up Big Ten Breakdown for this week. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, Chris. Take us out to the ballgame.
Yep, still ahead. It was a good night last night. If you were rooting for the Trojans, they bounced back with a win over Fullerton after their first loss of the season.
And USC Track heads to the Indoor Big Ten Championship. We talked to one member of the track team about what to expect from the Trojans. All that and more coming up next.
Fushigi!
Fushigi, I don't know what it is, but it's the coolest thing ever, and I can do it.
Hi, I'm Tim Goey, and this is Fushigi. We're going to show you how to unlock the secrets of Fushigi, the magic gravity ball. No strings, no tricks. Magic? Maybe. An illusion? You decide. You can make Fushigi defy gravity and appear to float in midair with maneuvers like the prayer cross, the enigma, levitation, and so many more. It floats, it levitates, it will confuse the senses with its mind-blowing movements. Young or old, big or small, anyone can Fushigi from the minute they pick up the magic gravity ball. And with a little practice, you can conquer Fushigi.
This is so amusing.
I think it's fabulous.
I get it now.
Everyone loves Fushigi, and you don't have to be a magician. It's relaxing, even therapeutic. Best of all, it's just amazing.
It floats.
It's awesome. Fushigi.
From basic maneuvers to the advanced, even control more than one Fushigi at a time. You can do this. Mystify, amaze, and confuse your friends in just minutes. Now it's your turn to master Fushigi.
Fushigi.
It's sick. It's so much fun. I love it.
It's amazing.
I love it.
Me too.
My grandson, he's 16, he would love one of those. I want to buy it now.
Fushigi. Call now to order Fushigi.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. We've walked through the stars and learned about the X's and O's, but let's go to Kyle to discuss some of the players off the bench that are going to make an impact in the big game coming up between UCLA and USC.
Thanks, Chris. We have a new segment this semester called Off the Bench. My name is Kyle Loke, and I will be telling you about some players that you may not know about who are still contributing to the Trojans' success. First up, we have Avery Howell, the 6-foot freshman from Boise, Idaho, had her best performance of the season versus Purdue. Howell scored 18 points, 2 rebounds, 3 steals, and shot 57% from the field. The freshman showed out in Wisconsin with 14 points and shot 62 from the field as well. Howell has been exciting to watch, helping our Trojans dominate the season. Her energy coming off the bench has helped the Trojans significantly in changing the momentum in the game. Howell is someone you want to watch with the woman of Troy for the rest of the season. Next up is Kaylee Heckel, a.k.a. K9, because she is a dog when coming off the bench for the Trojans. The 5'9" freshman showed out versus Wisconsin with 10 points, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Right now, Heckel is one of the first guards to come off the bench, taking over the point for Juju Watkins. Although the freshman is only averaging 5 points a game, she helps control the tempo of the game and lock down shooters on defense. That's all I have for this week. Stay tuned for more of our Trojans who will be coming off the bench the rest of the season, helping contribute to the Trojan success. Back to you guys.
USC baseball took down Cal State Fullerton 5-3 on the road yesterday after losing to Rice 4-3 on Sunday, the first loss of the Trojan season. USC now sits at a 7-1 record. The Trojans got off to a hot start against Cal State Fullerton with 2 runs in the first inning and kept the momentum from there. Junior pitches Ethan Hedges had a standout performance with a homer and a save for the second time this season. Hedges has had success both pitching and batting this season and has been a key to a lot of the Trojans' victories. Sophomore outfielder Braden Dowd and graduate outfielder Cade Higgins have also been dominant at the plate, with OPSs topping 1,000. USC will need to stay hot as it prepares for home matchups against UConn and number 14 Vanderbilt this weekend. The Trojans will then begin conference play with a rivalry game against UCLA on Sunday. Now, baseball isn't the only squad at USC that's found success recently. Isn't that right, Liam?
Exactly right, Nolan. The Trojans are making waves, literally. USC Swim and Dive has been dominating competition and proving they belong among the nation's best. Let's dive into their recent success. The 12th-ranked USC Women's Swim and Dive team wrapped up the Big Ten Conference Championships with 1 individual title and 5 championship final appearances. Leading the charge was Caitlin Dobler, who captured her 2nd title of the meet, winning the 200-yard breaststroke in 2 minutes and 7 seconds. To the men's side, the momentum doesn't slow down for the 16th best swim and dive squad in the country, who are gearing up for the Big Ten Conference Championships tonight. With top Trojans set to compete in key events, Luke Maurer will sprint in the 50 and 100 free while also anchoring the 400 free relay. Recent Big Ten newcomer of the week, Junhao Chan, will take the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke. Meanwhile, the Chmielewski brothers take on the 100-yard free and fly and tackle the 200 LCM fly and 1500 LCM free. The Trojans head to the North State, Minnesota, to compete in the Big Ten Championships starting tonight, hoping to clinch a spot in the NCAA National Championships. Now it's time to hit the track. Chris has more on the recent Trojans track and field success.
Thanks, Liam. That's right. More Olympic sport excellence for the Trojans. They've been tearing up the track. The indoor Big Ten Track and Field Championships start Friday in Indianapolis with high hopes for the Trojans, whose men's squad heads in as the 2nd-ranked team in the country and the women rank 11th. Hurdler Jalasia Smith is heading into the tournament with a lot of confidence.
So what do you think that the USC track team will do heading to the indoor championships?
Well, with this being our very first Big Ten championship, I think going into it, as long as my teammates continue to do what took them to get there, I think we'll be pretty good. Right now, our women's and men's sprints teams are ranked #1. So if they continue to do that, I think we can come out on top.
A big weekend ahead for USC's brightest track stars. But there's no fiercer competition in the country than what you're about to watch. Let's go to Thomas and Terrence for Trojan of the Week.
Well, it's my favorite part of the day. Time for Trojan of the Week. This week I'm taking over the reins and I get the pleasure of introducing my favorite thing to do on Wednesdays. For this historic new hosting of Trojan of the Week, I'm taking a USC athlete who made history. Of course, I'm referring to Johnny Brackens Jr. Brackens Jr. placed 3rd in the USA Track and Field Indoor 60 meters championships, setting his own personal record, a USC record, and the 4th fastest time in NCAA history while winning NCAA Co-Athlete of the Week.
I'm also choosing a racer, but one who actually won her events. I'm taking Caitlin Dobler of USC Swim and Dive.
It is Crawford, 207.22. Oh my gosh, Dobler tied her. We have a tie for first, down to the 100th.
Dobler and the Trojans competed in the Big Ten Championships this last week, and Dobler dominated. The graduate won the 100-yard breaststroke by more than a second, notching the only NCAA A-cut at the championships. She also earned gold in the 200-yard breaststroke, the race you're watching right now, to give her nine total conference championships in the breaststroke alone in her career. So I respect the Johnny Brackens pick. I myself have chosen Johnny Brackens as my Trojan of the Week, so I'm going to let you defend your pick first.
Well, thank you very much. I just think when you look at it, he's a history maker. As I mentioned, fastest time in Big Ten history, fastest his own personal time, fastest USC time. One of the only people he lost to, as you mentioned, he didn't win. One of the only people he lost to was the world record holder in Grant Holloway.
Well, I'm just going to say, sure, he set a USC record, Big Ten record. I think you need to put those in context because the Big Ten hasn't always been the best at track and field.
You're not wrong.
USC joining is one of the best track programs in the millennium. And let's talk about that USC record. The 60-meter hurdles isn't even an Olympic event. USC is much better at the long-distance hurdling. They have a much stronger history at the long-distance hurdling.
Despite that, I still think you needed to, if it's a record is a record, Thomas. And a record being broken, that's impressive, no matter what. I don't care that Caitlin Dobler won.
Caitlin Dobler has set a record in a 100-yard breaststroke.
Not this week.
Yeah, but she still won a 9th conference championship in the breaststroke event. 9. Between the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. She's been dominating since she was a freshman, and she put her stamp on Big Ten history.
Caitlin Dobler is a 5th-year senior. Johnny Brackens Jr. was the only non-professional track athlete racing in this.
He's still a senior, and he's competing.
He was competing against
So
older
you're saying
competition.
he's not good enough to compete it with a good competition?
What are you talking? I'm saying that it is more impressive. He's playing up a level. Meanwhile, Dobler, as you mentioned, Big Ten. I don't know if it's the best swim conference either compared to
Yes,
the
it
Pac-12.
is.
No, it's not. Not even a little.
Okay. It's not as good as the ACC, but it's better than the Pac-12. You cannot say that the Big Ten is better in track than the Pac-12 was.
The track, I'm talking about swimming. Sorry, I think there's a miscommunication there.
No, that's what I'm saying, and I'm throwing it back on you. I'm throwing it back on you. Can you realistically say right now?
No, the Pac-12 was better. I'll give you that, very much so. But because he was playing up, he wasn't even competing in the Big Ten. He was competing against professionals.
Yeah, okay. Sure, but it's like you're talking about a Big Ten record. That's what part of your argument.
But he was also the National Player of the Week. National Player of the Week.
Co-Player of the Week.
Still Player of the Week.
Well, Caitlin Dobler was one of the only first-team big member. Because there's so many swim. There's not a lot of track going on. There's not a lot of track going on because it's indoor season. So there's not many players running.
I don't think that matters. He still still was competing in the USA. Dobler was in the Big Ten championships.
With so
Johnny
many
Brackens
swimmers
Jr.
swimming.
was in. You are just making things up. In my opinion.
No, there's not that many people running. It's the indoor season. There are fewer people running. Therefore, he has less competition to get co-player of the week.
Look, it is just less impressive that she's in the Big Ten against other collegiate players when Johnny Brackens Jr. is against professionals.
Well, Caitlin Dobler won. Johnny Brackens didn't.
Absolutely.
But Luka Doncic had his revenge game last night as he faced the Mavericks for the first time since the trade. We break down his performance. And the MLS season kicked off this weekend. We break down how Ellie's teams fared their first time out.
I've replaced your shoelaces with fruit by the foot.
So you did. I replaced your fingers with fruit by the foot.
Bravo. I've replaced your bones with fruit by the foot.
Indeed you have. I replace your guitar strings with fruit by the foot.
Seems like a step backwards, but alright. I've replaced your DNA with fruit by the foot. That would be end the game, my friend.
Fruit by the foot. Fruit-flavored snack.
Are you guilty of driving while talking on your cell phone?
Hi, Billy Mays here for the Jupiter Jack. The most convenient hands-free device for any cell phone, guaranteed. Plug it into any phone and mount it on the dash. Preset your radio to 99.3 FM and you're ready to go. Jupiter Jack transmits quality sound through the speakers in your car. Instead of hearing music, you hear the other person. No plugs, no wires, no hands. Call now and get the Jupiter Jack for just $40. Order right now and we'll cut the price in half. You'll get the Jupiter Jack for only $19.99. As a bonus, we'll also include the Jupiter Jack phone mount. It mounts easily and adjusts to fit any shape or size phone. Just pay separate shipping and handling. That means you get the Jupiter Jack and the phone mount, a huge value, all for just $19.99.
Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-346-5231. But call now. We're giving away a bonus dashboard mount with all of today's orders. So call 1-800-346-5231. Call now.
While the NBA playoffs are less than 2 months away, new acquisitions highlight the face of the league, namely Luka Doncic in his purple and gold threads. Daniel Palmore has more. Daniel, 3 games, 3 wins for the Los Angeles Lakers, 2 of them big-time wins over Western Conference rival Denver Nuggets, and last night the reunion for Luka on his former team, the Dallas Mavericks. What has worked well for the 4th best team in the Western Conference?
Thanks, Liam. The Los Angeles Lakers are hitting their stride at the right time after picking up wins against some of the Western Conference's top teams. The Denver Nuggets have been the Lakers' kryptonite over the years, but Denver had no answers for Luka and LeBron on Saturday. The duo combined for 57 points in LA's 123-100 victory and snapped Denver's 9-game winning streak. And in his first game against his former team since the blockbuster trade, Luka and the Lakers beat the Mavericks 107-99. LeBron led the way with 27 points and 12 rebounds. The Lakers extended their win streak to 3 and are 8-2 in their last 10 games. And Luka recorded a triple-double in his first game against his former team with 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 assists. In the win, Doncic joined LeBron and Russell Westbrook as the 3rd player in league history to record a triple-double against all 30 teams. And the new-look Lakers will look to continue stacking up W's tomorrow night against the Minnesota Timberwolves as their homestand continues. And that's all I have. Now back over to you guys for some news in the soccer world.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's stay in LA. The MLS season has just begun, and 2 Southern California teams are already off to a good start. In their first game as a part of the MLS, San Diego FC picked up a massive win over the defending champs, the LA Galaxy, with Andres Dreyer scoring both goals to pick up points for SDFC. Unlike their other Los Angeles counterpart, LAFC picked up a win over Minnesota United, with Jeremy Ibobisi scoring the lone goal in the 77th minute to give the Black and Gold their first win of the year. Well, with either squad showing out, Chris, let's start with you. What does the future hold for Major League Soccer in Southern California?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a lot of winning going on in Southern California. We have the Galaxy and LAFC. They have been recent champions, and I think it could be interesting if, of course, SDFC can get off to the right start. It's a great, first game of the season beating the defending champs, but we know in Southern California you got to win if you want people to pay attention to you. So I think that's the real question here.
I mean, same thing goes for San Diego FC. I can speak as someone who's born and raised there. I mean, I have a lot of friends who aren't very into that soccer sphere, but just because of the lack of professional sports there, very different vibe from LA, where you have a professional team in every league. For San Diego FC, very different story. People just want to watch them play, and I think it's very exciting. Also, just for Southern California in general, having 3 teams is awesome, including one that has proven to basically be a dynasty at this point.
Huge for San Diego, huge for Southern California. 2 more reasons to support this team. Largest soccer-specific venue in the United States. 35,000 people are seated. They have a practically student section there for their fans to be able to cheer on the team. And they're committed to winning, clearly. Head coach Mikey Veras, former FC Dallas head coach and U.S. men's national team assistant coach, they're committed to winning. There's no doubt Southern California's soccer scene is thriving, and the future of MLS soccer looks brighter than ever.
Well, that's all for us this week. Come back next time, same place, same time. I'm Nolan Ezett.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Chris Jose Nixon. Thanks for watching.